So, hello everyone. This is Jean O'Dean, and I want to introduce Amina Neil Keenan and Kevin McKinnon. We're going to be focusing on the legacy of the Amina uh, from starting in 2008 to 2012, from 2013 to 2017, and then from 2018 to 2021 before Amina Keenan departs for Indonesia. So Neil, I just want to let you know it's wonderful to see you stand. You're still standing. A lot of people have shared your demise, and it's nice to see that you're alive and
I'm
standing.
not,
So,
I'm not standing. I'm sitting. I'm right here. I'm right here. If I stood up, you wouldn't be able to see me and you'd tell me to move closer.
okay. So, what we want to start with for a lot of new people that haven't really been following you for all these years, just to update with how you've started on the world scene with the big bang of your $1 trillion lawsuit and how that came about. So it's kind of like before Amina and how you were introduced to the Dragon family and how that evolved into the $1 trillion lawsuit.
No,
If you could share that.
I don't really have to get into how I was introduced to the Dragon family. Uh, I can tell you what happened, how it came about, and it was by accident. It wasn't by design. I had no designs on losing 134.5 billion in notes. I did not believe for one second that Daniel Dabasco was such the thief, despite being the financial advisor to the Vatican. But when I found out later that he was tied into Leo Zagami, I realized what kind of thief he could be from the P2 Lodge, and which had closed at the time. And Leo Zagami really wasn't the guy he said he was, and he was hiding from so many different people. And if you're the head of the P2 Lodge, let me tell you something. You don't hide from anybody. Okay? Everybody hides from you. So I knew then that there was a problem, and Dabasco had the notes at that time. And I decided, rather than to cancel them out with the help of the Dragon family, whereas I'd wait 6 months, they would be returned to me, and I could then move forward on the on the trading programs and platforms. But I didn't want to wait 6 months. You already know what I'm like, and I like it yesterday, not 6 months. So I told them no, and they said, "Well, we won't finance it. Is that okay?" I said, "Fine, I'll do it myself." And I went running after Dabasco all over the place, found him a couple of times, watched him a couple of times. I had other people watching him a couple of times. And at any given time, we could have pulled his ticket if we wanted to. But I wanted to find out more. And we did. It went into different organizations, including the World Economic Forum, which is they want to be in charge of the New World Order, the New World Order, and with Gianfranco, what's his name? Giancarlo. Giancarlo.
Yes.
You know, he was the guy involved. We'll get to him later. Let's just stop now, okay? It was by accident. It happened on my part, and by design on his part.
Well, and your intention with the 134.5 billion was to start free energy project, and with that being stolen, that was delayed. Do you want to share that?
Delayed. It's still not there.
Well, yes, it's still not there. That was you were wanting to showcase that on New Year's Eve at the Vatican.
Well, it was quite the plan, and it was working. It was in place, and we had three countries ready to jump in on the 134.5 billion. And what they were going to do is give me enough money at that time, enough so that we could maneuver, or I could maneuver into position to provide the deal to or set up the transaction with the Vatican. Whereas on New Year's Eve at like 11:59 at night, the 11:58, the lights would go off in the Vatican. Then they'd come back on right about the time it's midnight. They come back on, but they come back on under a new energy in a new energy system, which would be free energy. And that was going to be quite the thing. And a lot of people were aware of it, and it was going to happen. But before that could ever get a chance to happen, the notes were stolen, as you know. So.
And besides the World Economic Forum and Daniel Debosco, there were other defendants in your $1 trillion lawsuit.
Debosco was talking to I just want to get his name right. Bruno.
Bruno.
Giancarlo Bruno. Giancarlo Bruno?
Yes.
Okay, he just got married. I don't know what his boyfriend's name is, but he just got married. And this is true. And I guess he expects to be rewarded for everything he's done with the New World Order and also the World Economic Forum. I think, let me think about it for a second or two, because I don't want to get into it too deeply, and I don't want to keep running and rambling on about this, because that's the past, and we're still there, and we're moving on to the future now, and we've got so much more to give in a couple of months or a couple of weeks, even could even be a couple of days. So I don't want to get into that too much when there's other things more important than even the theft of the notes.
Yeah, if you could just highlight, there's some confusion with the Chiasso incident.
What is the confusion?
Well, people are not sure if that's involved with your $1 trillion lawsuit.
Well, I was with those people, and I took them to the airport or to the train station that day when they left for the Caramate in Italia. I mean, they were with me. So I guess it had something to do with me, and they're the ones who brought the notes to me. And the notes were real, as everybody knows now. But back then, I mean, even the television was the reporters and so on. They were all saying, well, maybe it's real and maybe it's not. But when after Yamaguchi got stopped at Chiasso, then soon after, Debosco stole the notes from me. They said, well, wait a minute. And then there was something even bigger taking place in Italy. At the same time, they said, ho, where's all this coming from? It's coming from the bunkers, mostly, is where it's coming from. And it was being the notes were being issued by one of the elders to people like Yamaguchi, who was a signatory for the Dragon family. And at that point, from there, it was a matter of putting in place, which not many people could do, including Yamaguchi. You know, you had to have more strength to put it in place. They were looking for someone who could do it. And I had connections with the governments, and they came to me and asked me for help. That's how it happened. Okay?
Yes, and it involved other defendants. We won't, it'll be featured in the Amanaz Odyssey, but other defendants, the Vatican, the United Nations, the Italian government, the police. So there are a lot of defendants in that $1 trillion lawsuit.
What's being misled is the people in relation to what happened to Yamaguchi. He was never arrested. He was never sentenced in absentia. The Como, the Le Como newspaper, which is owned by Berlusconi's brother, came out and said that he had been sentenced in absentia, that he had been arrested and all that. They let Yamaguchi go pretty quickly in Milan or Como. They let him go because when he came before a judge, he made it clear to the judge when the judge wanted to know what was going on and who was he, and he says, I'm the signator for the Dragon family, the Golden Dragon family. And he says, and what is that? He says, I cannot reveal to you exactly what they are, who they are. He told him, but I can tell you this, if I'm not out of here soon, and I mean very soon, my family will be going after the Italian government and throwing them into bankruptcy because you owe us a lot of money and you will pay it We've never requested it. We will soon request it. And at that point in time, the judge called a recess and said to everybody, what the hell's going on here? Who's this guy? And it turned out his name was Akihiko Yamaguchi, a little guy who carried a big stick, and he was threatening them. And the judge didn't want anything to do with it, so he said, well, we'll hold on to these until we find out if they're real or not. And Yamaguchi didn't care at that point. Yama just wanted to get out of there, and the judge says, you can go, there's the door. And Yama was out. So I don't know where they got the idea he had been arrested, he had been sentenced. I mean, I was involved in it heavily. I spoke to his attorney who was working with the government to give him time.
And then also, you were also filing the $1 trillion lawsuit in 2011 in the U.S. District Court of New York, Southern District Court, and that jurisdiction was changed. I don't know if you want to briefly highlight.
No, it was never changed. The judge made it very clear. We had a judge named Howell who was in charge of the district of Southern District of New York's judicial system, and I had finished reading an article in the New York Times making it clear that Judge Howell was the first man in the morning and the last man home at night. He loved his job. A couple of days after that, he retired. And you had to wonder what happened. Then all of a sudden, a guy named Fulmer comes in. And when you look at who Fulmer is, after he told my attorney that I could never refile my case in front of any other judge other than him. Well, he's not the only judge, and the United States isn't the only place where I could acquire jurisdiction. You got Switzerland, you got France, and you got Italy. And so I laughed when he said that, but the bottom line is, turns out he's a member of the Obama team, the Obama team. His brother is one of Obama's economic advisors.
Yes. So you had pulled out of that jurisdiction and
no, never pulled out. We just walked away. We walked away. We motion not to dismiss, but we wanted a continuance. We wanted to move on. We wanted more time, and we weren't sure we'd get it, but we had to set up pretty well for Switzerland and Geneva to go after it if we had to, and it's still set up.
Yeah. And then also during that time period, you were involved in dispatching a lot of cease and desist for leaders throughout the world. So you had numerous, I'm counting up to 20 or more cease and desist that was presented.
But that came a little later, I believe.
That was in that time period between. Yeah, that was in that time period after the 2011, and also you were getting involved, mostly focusing on the Monica Accord, and if you want to share that, how that came about, because
with the Monica Accords, just to make a long story short, we had everybody shitting their panties. I mean, they're all crapping, and I'm sitting there with a bunch of finance ministers, and I'm sitting there with people who are tied into the financial industry, but nobody from the West. Nobody. At this point in time, Benjamin's telling everybody I'm in China, and they've been following me, and I'm over there in Monaco and dealing with what I've got to deal with, and almost got killed by what's it called, the electrical paralysis gun. The frequency.
like you're talking about an EMP, direct energy weapon?
Yeah. I mean, they had that thing poking out of the Black Hawk, and looking right at us. And I said, "Oh my God!" I said, "We're gonna go. We're gonna go, guys." And most of those guys aren't tough guys, and they were saying their prayers, I believe. But to get it to that point, though, they had to get on the boat, and, get on the yacht. It wasn't a military boat like Benjamin said, Benjamin Fulford.
If it had been, then Rockefeller would have been able to get on because he's a senator. I wouldn't have been able to get in his way, wouldn't have been able to say no and hit him with my shoulder and almost knock him in the water. That wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened. That whole thing, still to this day, opened up the door for BRICS. They set up a new system. We ended up getting the central bank for BRICS, basically. What is it? The AIIB, Kevin?
Yes. Oh, you had the BRICS AIB, but you had on the boat you had financial ministers, but they were all from Eastern, not the Western banks.
I made it clear no Western ministers were allowed. Is Kevin there? Kevin?
Kevin's here. It's
Okay.
AIIB.
AIIB, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's what they ended up setting up as the central bank, which I said we needed our own central bank. They set that up. I said a lot of things about and they did it, but they allowed the West in. That was their mistake, because they opened the door for the West. You had the other group, the alliance. What's it called? The
NAM, the nations.
Non-aligned members. You had them coming out of nowhere again, similar to what Swiss Indo did at one time. But NAM was more viable and more real than Swiss Indo. NAM, the underdeveloped countries in Asia, and how they were basically misused and abused by the powers that be in the 50s and 40s and so on. And it's still happening today. You got people claiming they're this, they're that, and we're part of NAM. But that and 50 cents will get you a cup of coffee, because you're not going to get into a bank, and you're not going to get anywhere and cash in any notes, because you're going to have to come through me, because I'm in charge of those bunkers. Those assets have to come through me, and if I find anybody playing with them, I'm going to issue arrest warrants. I will put them in jail. I will not hesitate. They've screwed around with us for long enough.
It's our turn to straighten the situation out.
Well, and that's more or less after the Monaco Accord. That's when you started dealing with all the corruption going into the bunkers that had been ongoing for decades. You were also exposing the Swiss Indo, the OPPT, OITC.
Swiss Indo exposed themselves. They said they had their offices on such and such a street in Jakarta, and I had the camera rolling, and I walked in with Inchel, and the camera was rolling, and I went to the desk, and I said, I'd like to speak to the offices at Swiss Indo. They said, who? This is one of the better business buildings in Jakarta. I said, Swiss Indo. We don't know about that. You don't know. They're on the internet right now making claims that they're in this building, and they want to speak to us. And they're not here, sir. And the girl was laughing because she saw me laughing too. And they didn't exist. They were giving false information out. They had a place up near Bandung, about a 3-hour drive from where we were. They who was it that I forget who it was that was talking to them, and in Bahasa, and made it very clear to them that you want money. Oh, it's Inchel. Do you want money? Yes, we want money. Yes, we do. And where shall I bring it? Well, you should bring it to Bandung. The address was near Bandung. He says, no, you told me Jakarta earlier. I'm in Jakarta, and I have the money. So they gave this address that for them didn't exist, and nobody there acknowledged them. We went there, and after that, I said to Inchel, come on, I'll buy you a hamburger.
That was captured, and it was also connected with the Sedona operation as well.
The who?
David, the Sedona operation, David?
No.
There were different players involved in the Swiss Indo.
The Swiss Indo, yeah, maybe he was involved. I don't know. But
Yeah.
He really had nothing. He had nothing. He had nothing, really nothing at all. And And he wasn't worth worrying about. He had no clout. He had weak connections. He had just plain bullshit. And I think they were stealing money from the people from the state side.
Well, yes, in Reno, Nevada, the Native American
I don't know.
reservation.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know anything there, but he I never spoke to the guy, and never cared to. Still don't. I hear he's in jail, and if so, that's probably where he had to end up.
Well, and a lot of those players were in Heather Tucci, quite a few of those other people involved
Uh-huh.
with with this currency as well. So you were also dealing, not only exposing this kind of operations that were going on, claiming rights to the collateral accounts, because most people had no idea what the collateral accounts
Nobody
were all
knew what the collateral accounts were when I filed my legal action, when I filed the lawsuit. Nobody heard of the global collateral accounts. They didn't know what, or they didn't know what a cabal was. I mean, they were sitting on their hands, and there was a powder keg under there somewhere, and they did not know shit from Shinola, as my father would say. I mean, we had, Kevin's laughing, I hear him. And, and what that did, filing that action, and I'm really happy that this happened, is we opened up similar to Pandora's box, even bigger, because we exposed them to the world, and the world's bigger today than it was then. What you saw in Raiders of the Lost Ark at the end when they opened up the thing and all the little spooky things came out, really probably gin, but they all came out and they all came running around. Well, we opened up something similar to that, only thing bigger. Look what's happening right now. That's happening because of that lawsuit.
Yes.
Oh, they had to speed their game up. They had to move. They had people chasing them. I mean, people started getting smart and they started getting nervous. Who's this 1%? Well, we knew who the 1% was, but how about the 99%? That's what they had to be worried about. And they still do, because we got a makeshift government, a phony government. I mean, Captain Kangaroo could have done better than what they did. And then on the other hand, you got Donald Trump with reality, ready to take them down. I mean,
yeah, and that's what, after the $1 trillion lawsuit, it appeared that the cabal was really going after stealing as much as they could from the bunkers.
they're doing it today. They're doing it today. They didn't start right away. They've been doing it all along, and they didn't travel and steal. They mirrored accounts, which Kevin can explain to you if he wants to. But they mirrored accounts. The assets never left where they are, their location. The BIS has all the assets registered, and they were working hand in hand, of course, with the cabal. You have to remember, the cabal began before the Monaco Accords. Monaco Accords was set up because of the cabal, because they wanted to take everything. They wanted to create a new world even then. And what they needed to do is they had to set up a banking system. So they had the IMF, they had the World Bank, they had the BIS, they had the Vatican, and they had the Queen of England and the Bank of England. I mean, everything went through there. I mean, our tax dollars went through the IMF in France, and it was split up amongst all the banks and so on in Europe. And what was left came back to our constituents.
Well, and even before that, with the World War II and the Bretton Woods, I mean, you want to make the Bretton Woods Agreement null and void.
Bretton Woods was 1945, I believe.
Yeah. Yes.
So
here
I mean, it's and they continued it later. President Clinton
continued it later, promised the East that don't worry, nobody's going to play with the funds anymore. You'll get what you've got coming. And as soon as they signed the paper, and the ink hadn't even gotten dry yet, they started stealing from the East again. This time, it's coming through me. When I get there, it'll be coming through me. And when it comes through me, I'll be coming for them. They won't be coming for me. And they will not be playing with the assets because I will have them put in jail. They've hurt a lot of people that I know. I have a lot of friends that have been damaged, families that have been damaged. I've too much people who are dead, and because of idiots who think they're important. These old timers from the 1920s, communistic type people from Khazars, for example, and you got people who call themselves Jewish, but they're Khazars. I mean, it all comes back to this and the people that were taken out during World War II from Germany. That's the chemists and everybody else. Hitler never died in Germany. He died in Paraguay. So I mean, that was in the 60s that he died.
And that's where the Bush cartel have their compound, correct?
Well, their compound is what used to be called the Hitler estate.
Mhm.
And it's Hitler's estate. That was Hitler's property. It's in the what's it called? It's the triangle. It's a triangle. The Golden Triangle is something. It's where all the drugs come through. Because the Bushes are heavily involved in drugs. I mean, here's another gaffe. We know they're involved in drugs, and everybody else knows they're involved in drugs, and they're selling it to our kids and everything else. But nobody's done anything about it. You can put this man in jail so easily with the shit that he's pulled over the years. And I'm not talking about him, Obama too. What a goof. What a goof and what a gaffe. I mean, how stupid can you be to deal with something like that? I mean, it's like the saying, Jack and Jill went up the hill, but with $1.25, and Obama came down with $2.50.
Well, and then with also Obama living and residing in Indonesia, if you could expound upon his involvement in Indonesia.
Well, his story back then is his name was Sutorro. He changed his name to Sutorro. I don't know what his name was when he came to Indonesia. That's what I'm trying to get. And but his name was Sutorro. His mother married a guy named Barry Sutorro, not Barry Sutorro, but Sutorro. And Barack was a child then. His mother was a lecturer, I believe, and his father was CIA. And he had a nanny named Fanny, a nanny named Fanny, who was watching him. And Fanny was a transgender, really. And Fanny's still alive and living on the banks of the river there that comes through right through Jakarta. And she's afraid that he'll get her if she says anything. But she acknowledges a lot. And I've seen pictures of him with lipstick on and at the age of 7 or 8 and high heel shoes and all kinds of things. It's an exposure, basically. This didn't begin at a late age. This began at a young age. This transgender program that he's got in his head. I don't think he's a pitcher with Michael. I think he's the catcher. And next year he's going to be the catcher again because Michael's just too damn strong for him. Michael played football at Oregon, University of Oregon. Was a pretty Kevin was a pretty. I think you know this, Kevin was a pretty good linebacker too. And
Absolutely.
was a pretty good linebacker, but didn't like taking showers with the guys because felt uncomfortable. Left Oregon and ended up where? Columbia? I think Columbia.
Yes.
Yep.
That's where they met. And I don't know the story about Obama with Harvard. I don't believe he finished there. I believe they manufactured documentation. I believe that his college education had been manufactured because I heard he was just basically a druggie throughout college.
Yeah, all his college things have been sealed. He was at Occidental College as well. So
no, he wasn't at Occidental College. He was at Accidental College. It was an accident that he was there.
Well, could you talk about, because you were involved a lot with Obama. I mean, he was trying to cut off all your accounts because, you were being targeted. We can talk about your meeting with the City of London offering from the Rothschilds. But right now, talking about Obama, what he was doing with your accounts, preventing you to come into the United States, and how also his 2016 Obama out. If you could kind of, while we're on the topic of Obama, that would be great if you could share that.
Say that last part again when you were mumbling.
What? Oh, I was mumbling. With Obama out at the in May of 2016, his famous Obama out where he drops the mic.
Well, you want to know what happened there?
Yeah, I mean, because it looks like you've been going back and forth with Obama, cutting off your.
That's when the RV was taking place at Wells Fargo. You know, when the first tier had already been taken care of, but that was the Bushes and so on again. This thing had been set up from the beginning for the wealthy people. All the people in the middle class and lower class, whatever, they had no chance of making a dime. It was all being taken right from the beginning, because after the first tier was taken care of by the Wells Fargo Bank, the first tier came in the same people came in to take the money from the second tier. They didn't want the second tier to get anything. They'd leave them some tidbits in the end, and that's what was going on. And Obama had been told by General Dumfries at that time that, and he had been told not by Dumfries but by other military men, that if he didn't do as he was told and step down, then the general would come out onto the platform and make it very clear he's in charge now.
And that occurred right before the White House dinner with the press, and he did sign
corresponding dinner. The correspondence dinner.
He did sign
that was
a
it.
transition. Yeah, and he did sign that transition of executive order. So actually, in May of 2016, Dunford, the chief of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, more or less escorted the whole Obama administration outside of the White House.
Yeah, well, I had gotten a fax at the time from the family, from the Dragon family, and I had been
and basically made it clear what was going on to me there, and exactly what they told me, because they were the ones holding the basket. You know, they had the basket. If anything was going to happen, it was coming through them, and they told me I'd get a 2-week warning so that I could get my people in place to go and do what had to be done. But they also told me not to hold my breath. But in the meantime, you got all these Asara, and everybody else coming out saying, it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. It's a bunch of nonsense. There's not many real people in this game. There's not many, and there's not hardly any that know what's going on, because they don't have their feet on the ground. They're expecting phone calls to come in from people. Hey, let me tell you what I heard. And you know that it doesn't fly like that. Not in this business, but in any business. You don't take third-hand information and run with it. That you're going to end up owning it, if that's the case, and it's going to be a whole bunch of crap to deal with.
Yes, because right now it appears that the GESARA and NESARA is resurfacing, entangled with the quantum financial system. So if you could go on record.
Heather Tucci resurfaced, for God's sake. You know, she went to jail and she's resurfacing. And they all resurface. OPPT, Red Dragon, everybody that we've dealt with and everybody we put to bed and we thought was in La La Land forever and ever, they're back. And they're all working together.
Yeah.
You got Kim
Guggen and the Mana Trust
Kim Guggen is not the Mana Trust. That's Christy Adams from Massachusetts. I mean, come on. You know what? They're using different names. I know the Dragon family. They don't know the Dragon family. You know, I mean, I got people I know on the site telling people they're working with the Dragon family. And I know for a fact they're not. But you know something? I haven't been popping up recently for a reason. It's getting close to the end, okay? Or beginning, however you want to look at it. And I don't want to put a target on my back at this point in time. And by putting myself out there every day, playing with the multitudes, because I like having fun, I like playing. I like stirring up the pot. I'm an Irish guy. You know, we stir up the pot and we want to see if there's some Irish stew in there somewhere, you know? But no, I don't want to do that right now. I don't want anybody, except for a few people, to know what I'm doing. I'm working with my team. You can count on that. And we're doing things that's going to happen. You count on that. And right at the moment, I'm waiting for things to happen. And it hasn't happened yet. And it's more my fault than anyone else's right now. And it all comes from some of it comes because of the trouble that Dean Chambers caused when he said I sexually assaulted some woman in Asia. Here I am lying in a bed losing, what did I lose, 20 pounds, 17 pounds in 10 days? And that wasn't from fooling around with an assaulted woman.
No, you were very sick. Yeah.
Some people thought I was dead. I was going to die.
Yeah.
You know, and then you got Benjamin claiming I'm a clown. Benjamin, I can be a clown sometimes on occasions, but I'm not a clown. You can be a clown all the time, Benjamin, and a clone too. Now let me, he was always worried about that, interested in that bump on my arm, Benjamin.
Yes.
And about a month ago, that popped on me. And, I didn't want to go see a doctor at all, ever, because I thought he might get me with some poison or something which is what's been happening to me all along. Whenever we got close, somebody would slip something to me and that would be it. What's it called? Time-delayed capsules and all
Time
kinds.
release. Yes. Well, you had 16 packets.
Yeah. And I think that's probably what caused that bump. And it caused the diabetes that I got. All these things happened after that. But the bump broke. It burst inside my sweater. I put my hand down there, pulled it out, and I didn't know what it was. I smelled it. It was the worst smell I've ever smelled in my life. My God. It was horrible. And I smelled some bad things in my life, but this was bad. And I looked at it, and I took the sweater off, and I saw it was leaking, and I touched it, and it just sprayed right up. And I said, my God, what is this? I had no idea. Touched it again, and it sprayed again. If I had Benjamin out there, I would have shot him with it, give him a dose of it so he'd have the damn thing too. But anyway, I had no choice but to see a doctor and see what he would do. He told me what everybody told me, it wasn't going to hurt. They lied. The doctor told me the truth, though. The first time it didn't hurt. I had too much anesthesia. I saw them operating on my arm. I saw the inside of my arm, and I said, my God, that's what it looks like. Oh, that's my arm. They gave me anesthesia. So I was flying a little bit too, But anyway, here, everybody can see. There it is. There's the bump.
Can you get a little bit closer and turn your arm sideways?
I'm almost kissing the computer.
Okay. Oh, yes. And turn it sideways because it's prominent. And that you had 3 removals, right? It wasn't just one.
Not 3 removals. The first time they removed things, and how many clots? I forget how many clots. They found clots.
3, yeah, 3 clots.
And the third one was big. It was huge. It had a big long tail to it. And the root was long. And I couldn't believe when it was coming out of my arm. And he told me it was rubbing on my muscle. And thank God it was my muscle and not my nerve. Otherwise, I'd be in trouble. But they did what they had to do, and they bled a lot. The people watching what was going on, people that were with me, they couldn't believe the blood pouring out of there. And I kept saying, that's my arm. Hey, I don't know. I didn't know what was going on after what they gave me to ease the pain. But nevertheless, I walked away with it pretty good. And a couple of days later, it started hurting, and there was a blood infection. And went back in again, and they pulled out some more clots, actually. And the third time, they pulled more clots out, but it was the last time. And now my immune system's kicking in, probably for the first time in, I'd say 10 years, 9 years or something. And the circulation's starting too, but the sugar thing is still there from the from the time released time delayed capsules, released capsules. That's when the sugar came. So I still got something I'm dealing with, but they're able to deal with this and get rid of this, and I can feel my blood moving now, whereas before I couldn't.
Yeah.
Plus my
So, no,
thoughts are clear. My thoughts
Yeah.
are everything's turned out okay. Uh, in a way, like I said, my thoughts are very, very clear now. I mean, I see everything happening. It's
well,
not,
and you have no idea who was behind those 16 poison release packets, but you also had encounters with Rothschild and was given an opportunity to back out. If you want to share that encounter at the City of London.
I've had many opportunities to back out. Not just with him. I could have taken lots of money at many given times and walked away, but I wouldn't have been able to refile. I wouldn't, which I believe we're going to get everything done. We're going to be able to refile. We're going to be able to come after all the bastards that are involved in this. We're going to be able to take them down. You know, I believe that. I believe that they can't fight much longer. I believe that they're going to make mistakes, which they have already, and they're going to have to deal with Trump, that's going to be pretty damn bad for them. They're scared to death of Trump. And if they're scared to death of Donald, wait until they get me.
Yes.
Wait until they get me. And, I'll be side by side with Donald and back to back. And they're not going to know what hit them.
Well, and what you've done in the past that a lot of people don't know, you helped save America numerous occasions. If you want to share the nuclear bomb that almost was detonated off of the South Carolina.
Obama took those nukes out from Fort Hood in Texas.
Texas.
Kevin, it's Fort Hood, right?
It was another fort, not Fort Hood, but
Kevin?
Fort Hood. Yes, I'm here. Fort Hood is in Texas, but I don't know if that's where.
I think that's the name of the place, and he didn't sign them out. Fort Lee, I don't know, but he didn't sign out. They signed the bombs out. He just took them out, and he was moving them from Fort Lee, maybe.
yes, I have it referenced in your Neil Keenan update, but I can't.
But nevertheless, I had let the people know, and not only in South Carolina, but all over the damn place, that they had these bombs that they were traveling with, and they were going to explode them over Charleston. And at that point in time, Obama and Biden had built Biden never did anything. Let's face the facts. Okay, yeah. He was deaf, dumb, and blind. But Obama would use him as his little lackey, and that's about it. But they built a new bunker for them to go into, so that when the bombs exploded, they wouldn't be caught in it. They'd be in the bunker. So
the bunker under the White House, correct?
They sat there for 2.5 days in the bunker, and when they came out, they thought it was going to be 23 million people less, the world, and the East Coast literally destroyed. And they came out and they looked around and they said, "Holy shit, it's the same." Then they found out that the generals that they had been ordered to drop it on Charleston had dropped it over the ocean. Those guys were declared alcoholics and drug addicts and everything else.
Gamblers, yes.
Yeah, and they were released of their duties. But they
were heroes.
They saved the people on the East Coast. They did. And we're the ones that got the word out so that everybody knew what was going on. But it seems even though we got the word out and we're the ones releasing this, it didn't matter to them, because they were going to the next one already. They had so many false flags all over the place, one after the other, lined up. Remember, the New World Order wants the planet with 90% less population than we have today. Okay?
And they're trying to get it. They're doing it with the coronavirus. They're doing it with the chemtrails. They're doing it with this, and they're doing it all every which way.
And the bottom line is, it's time for the powers that be, and I don't mean the cabal powers, the guys that play with little boys or anything like that, because it seems like that's all they do. You know, even at the Super Bowl, that was a satanic ritual up there at halftime.
You could see the word Satan.
Yeah, you
Satan
could.
was spelled out.
And, you know, even in the beginning, it was satanic in many ways. And they've been involved in everything we do for a long, long time. And it's time we clean the plate and not allow them to clean the plate anymore. It's time we do. But in the meantime, we have to open up the bunkers and we have to get things done so we can do what we have to do, not only there, but throughout the world to help the people live better.
Yeah, and if you could go into the bunkers, because we are addressing in the Amanaz Odyssey through all your Neil Keenan updates what transpired. But if you could go into more detail, and Kevin as well, about the bunkers. I know you had the opportunity in 2014. You were invited by the elders to view a bunker, and it was 2 football fields long. If you want to share that, and pretty much the bunkers that you're overseeing now is actually beyond Indonesia, my understanding. So if you could share that a little bit more about
the bunkers I'm looking at, I'm going to be looking at in Indonesia. They are. Okay, there's others in other places that I'm looking at that there've been countries that have reached out to me and asked me to help. And I could do that easily enough. But my deal in my agreement is with the Indonesia, and I'm going to honor that agreement, even though sometimes I want to take off and I want to go somewhere and I want to say the hell with it all. If I say the hell with it all, I believe too many people are going to die, get hurt. I just don't want that to happen. There's been enough of that going around with not anybody nabbed, nobody caught, despite everybody knowing who it is. With all fingers pointing in the right direction, nobody doing anything. That's sad. We got to finish, and I do too. Despite the fact, like I said, I really sometimes want to just go back to what I had because it was easy for me. I made a ton of money, and I literally developed countries, and it was fun. For me, it was fun. I mean, you know, I like developing. I like creating. That's one of the reasons why I like fighting the cabal, because I can create the scenario, and they fall right into it. I mean, you want to talk about going down the rabbit hole? They just keep falling into the rabbit hole.
Yes, you've caught them numerous times. We kind of discussed before you were elected Amana, and if we could go into that and make a distinction between being elected as Amana and going through the 7 spiritual rituals compared to those that were appointed by the cabal as Amana. So
Well, it's just, can I do that? Yes, I can do that. When you're even you got people who are appointed even today to high level positions, not just throughout Asia but throughout the world. Ferdinand Marcos was appointed. He was never elected. You know, he was an attorney in New York. He went to law school in New York. Came back home, had to divorce his first wife, and his son had to flee the country because he was going to be killed by Zmelda's family. I mean, that wasn't good. But the bottom line is he was appointed, and if you're appointed, you don't have that power unless you got the powers that be again behind you. I don't think there's much difference other than the fact when you're elected, okay, you're elected and everyone knows you're elected and you can deal with their things. Like the Amana,
And there's a lot of bunkers out there. And each and every one of them I can get into, and I can work that and get those things cleared, opened and cleared. Whereas they take them into a bank, and the bank tells them to take them home. That's one of the reasons why they're mirroring those accounts. It's a lot easier to do it through the BIS, the World Bank, and so on. So they're really all part of this. They're all part of it. I mean, you're not talking about a lot of people. You're talking about people who created a financial system, and they're exploiting it. You know? And as to being the Amana elected, I'm setting things up properly. And I don't care if anybody knows I'm the Amana or not, because I am the Amana. I was elected. They weren't. They weren't. They're not going to get into a lot of banks. They're not going to get into a lot of places. I'll get into those places. I'll set my team up, and then they'll have to come to me, and we'll see how far they get. Kevin,
Yes.
introduce yourself and let the people know what you see.
Okay. Neil's moving. We covered a lot of territory with this interview, but Neil's moving from the past to the future in terms of leveraging all of the assets that have been accumulated in the bunkers to the benefit of humanity, and doing it in a manner that is outside the existing banking system of designed by the tyranny, okay, of the world as it exists today. My role is not necessarily about anything to do with the bunkers. It's about, number one, helping build the system to work so that when Neil is dealing with all the different governments of the world, negotiating gold leases and everything else, that we have the mechanism in behind to be able to facilitate what those deals are going to look like. At the same time, it's my understanding that I'm probably going to be playing a role in the retribution and accountability of that which went before us, and making sure that we are recovering assets that were stolen deliberately by different institutions, different groups, to build the system that exists today to their advantage. Is that fairly accurate, Neil?
Yeah. Yeah, you'll be busy. Yourself, Chris, and others will be very, very busy.
Yeah.
Is that
I mean,
okay? Is that the answer, Gene?
Yeah.
You want more?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to share some of your projects that you intend to fund, I know
No.
you've been working
No.
with the bioresonance therapy.
The BRTs, yeah, well, they all know that already, that once I open the first bunker, I'll be financing, I don't know, 200 machines, 300 machines, and to be setting up clinics throughout Indonesia, other places in Asia, and also in the US. Maybe Canada, if they get rid of Trudeau, because I don't want that dainty little thing running around with the BRT.
Oh, don't threaten me with a good time.
You know, I mean,
Well,
he's got those. You know, I mean, he does colorful socks, though, doesn't he?
Well, and you shared how you envision to make Indonesia the jewel of Southeast Asia.
I'm going to make it better. I'm going to make it better than that. There's been a lot of people threatening Indonesia since I've been here with the corona, and also sick too. Again, you know, I mean, they just keep coming after me with this bullshit, Gene, you know, and I'm finally got the piss and vinegar back.
Yes, you do. Just this past year, it's amazing how
No,
you've recovered.
I got the piss and vinegar back in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and my head is clear, and there's no more stomach rolling, and my head's not spinning, and I beat him, but it took a long time. I'm lucky I beat him, because you know most people don't make it through.
Well, you've been compared not only United Nations, but military, all of that. There's no one can stop you. I mean, you're Amana now, and if we can also go into the spiritual rituals, because no one survived those spiritual rituals to be Amana.
No, no one ever, no one ever did.
And how you're empowered with President Sukarno's transfer,
Transfer
as
of
well
power.
as the magic.
Transfer of power and the power stick as well. And I'm
Yeah,
gonna have
and-
12, I'm gonna have 12 more. And you know
Well,
something? Yeah, and you know something? Now I'm gonna go find Harry Potter and I'm gonna show him what a real stick does.
well, I understand that there are some movies interested. Not only there'll be lots of books written, but about movies. But it is similar what you did, not only with the spiritual rituals, going up to the bunker, how you encountered the jinn, and using the magic power stick, the Sukarno's transfer of power.
Countered the jinn by using the power stick. The power stick was used to move the boulders. So we had made a deal, whereas the bunker door would be open 12 inches, and we could get in that way. But when you make a deal with them, you have to be precise. And those boulders were, you know, when you look down between those boulders, you look down, you can see it's like some kind of linoleum or something down there, really. And it's right up to the door, and the door's open about this much, and you're so close, but yet so far. And when you try to do what I'm supposed to do with the power stick, touch here, touch here, touch here, the rocks start moving slow. It's not so fast, it's really slow. And when it moved, the rocks from the top, because of the movement, the formation was changing. Rocks started falling close to us, and we were told. I was told to get up onto the tombs or the sites of the burial of the guys that found those places. I mean, I couldn't walk up a stair. I had to climb up a stair. You know, I mean, the stairs were big. They were high. I mean, what Tomas will tell you is that there was the talking stone, which if you touched it, if you were qualified, you touch it and it would tell you the history of the mountains. You know, and I didn't know I was sitting right across from it, but I knew that it looked like a guy when I looked at it, and the monkeys were always around it. You know, that's another story. The monkeys. That's Tomas again. You know, Kevin is going to be involved with this thing after, or even before, I get access to the assets. Okay.
Okay.
And he knows what's there pretty well, and he knows basically my position. He knows my position. He talks about my position more than me. I just say I'm the Amana, you know, and that's it. I don't want the pat on the back. I just want to get things done. And he says, Neil, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. Wake up. You know, and he's telling me this is 2:00 in the morning, my time. He's telling me to wake up.
Well, if you could enhance upon that, Kevin, because of the assets that are in the collateral accounts, how you see Neil's role.
Oh, I hate speaking for Neil. Neil's role, as the Amana, he has the right of access to any of the number of bunkers that exist that have been accumulated, and based upon the fact that it's been stored for the purposes of humanitarian projects, cleaning the earth, cleaning out the noise, the thousands of years of crap, that indoctrination and everything else. He has supreme right over all of and access over the use and utilization of those assets. And I probably drive Neil crazy because I want to get going. I want to get going. And knowing that he was going through worse than a grade 4 blood in fact, I diagnosed it over the phone for him when he asked me what it was, because I was on the phone with him when it burst. So in his arm. So I, and I said, we got to get going. We got to get going. We got to move, because every day that we wait, more harm is being done. And now that Trump is no longer front and center in everyone's attention, other than trying to illegally impeach him for a second time, the program to enslave has increased. And the whole scam of the COVID-19, which was patented in 2013 in Switzerland. So do the math on that and try and do the mental origami to support it. All of the nanotechnology that's being used in vaccines and test kits to further contaminate people and everything else. It's more a social engineering. Social engineering is happening in front of us, and nobody's responding. Nobody's doing anything. And I'm like, we got to get moving, because we've got to fire back the first shot. And the first shot is going to be an earthquake of magnificent depth. That this is the reality. This is gold. This is what it's for. This is going to anchor the currencies. Neil needs the support of everybody spiritually, because there are days when, you want to walk away. The load on the shoulders of so few. And we had this discussion 2 days ago when it started a week ago, but concluded 2 days ago that it's one of two things. It's either pride or greed, and pretty much everybody wants the money. Nobody's interested in saving humanity. Well, there are relatively few of us that are, in that path. We are going to save humanity. That's our soul contract. That's what we're here for. And when we get this close now, we push hard, because we do want to get started, but we also have to be careful, because we're not going to be friends with pretty much any government in the world when we're looking to completely change the economic and financial structure of the world. So,
And that's one thing. I'm sorry to interrupt. If you could, Neil, could you explain? You made it clear that you want to separate into Eastern financial system, because you were asked to be M1 at one time, and you've opted not to officially sign that mandate. But your envision is creating an Eastern financial system, correct?
It was when we did Monaco, but at that time I knew I wasn't financially set. Even if I had all my money at that time, the money they froze and stole, I would not have been set, because it would cost a fortune. But they had to set it up back then. But BRICS was supposed to do that. But what happened was they started inviting in the West.
Yes.
I didn't invite the West to the boats, or to Monaco. I kept the West out of it. I mean, of course you can deal with the West, but you don't let them come in and play on your turf anymore, like they had been doing for a long, long time. I mean, the United States owned Japan after the war. The Japanese didn't know that, but that's what was happening. They were owned. They were walking into the Japanese central bank and taking out what they wanted to. Kissinger, Baker, all of them were doing that all the time, regularly. But a couple of years ago, Rockefeller was told not to come back anymore. That was the end of the ownership. But then again, the prime ministers of Japan are still tied into it.
Yeah, they have the allies with the cabal as well as South Korea. And
they're part of the team.
Yeah.
They're part of the team. I mean, they're after Benjamin. I hear they're still after Benjamin. They're going to get him. But, I hope Benjamin can slide on him. I don't read Benjamin stuff that much any longer, because I know what it is. But I do like to read Tom Clancy novels and stuff. And Benjamin is almost as good as them, if not better. Benjamin's got a good spin on what he does. And maybe it's not real, and maybe it's not right. But the bottom line is, it's good reading. I like it,
Yeah. Well, besides the BRICS kind of becoming infiltrated with the Western financial system, I know, Kevin, you mentioned the AIIB, and it's involved with financing the Belt and Road. And here we're finding Biden and his son Hunter being involved with a lot of the Chinese projects and the Belt and Road, going on a global scale. It's the old Silk Road. There's spice routes, but now into Africa and throughout. So, that, Neil, that was initially meant for Eastern financial system. So it looks like you're going to, as Amana, to finally put an end to the infiltration. Pardon?
Amana.
Yes, I said you were Amana.
You're talking to Kevin.
No, I'm talking to you as Amana. As Amana, Neil, how would you be preventing the infiltration of the Western financial system with the Amana financial system?
How would I prevent it? I'd get rid of their banks, first of all. The first thing we would do is set up our own banks. We set up our own, well, we already set up our own SWIFT. We don't have the SWIFT anymore. I don't think we do. We didn't, we're getting rid of it when I left there. And we don't need the SWIFT. We got to get rid of all their little toys and gimmicks. That's basically it. I mean, I said we needed a central bank. We've got it, AIIB. But they're working with the West as well.
Yes.
So we might have to do something there again. And we may like I said, we may have to set up our own banks, period. We need our own financial system. We don't need to tie into the West, but they seem to maneuver their way into the East, despite the fact that they were no longer wanted there. They managed to get in there. And that's going to have to be changed and clarified when I get there. We're going to have to work. They're going to have to work through us, and the AIIB has to work through us too. They can't just go spending money that's not theirs. Those assets belong to the depositors, and the depositors they don't happen to be any Western groups, especially Kazaz, and especially groups in DC. We're going to have our own thing. We're going to do our own things. We're going to set them up. We're going to set up our own probably judicial system. We're going to set up our own prisons probably, so that when we catch the sons of bitches, we'll steal them and we'll bring them over like they've been doing to everybody else over the years and put them in our cages. And so let them go before our judges and see how many years they get. They've been doing that to the East for a long time.
Yeah. As well as the technocracy, the corporation that's censoring our free speech, that has to be dealt with as well.
Well, that's what the Americans have to deal with, and the Canadians. That's what you people have to deal with, because they're there with you. They won't be there with me. And then again, good luck trying to censor my speech. Good luck. Lots of rock.
His wife has been trying.
I don't know how to stop. But no, the situation's going to be a lot better when we get back and I get those things opened. We're not looking to sell gold, but we're looking to leverage it. I'm looking to leverage it. I'm going to have 2 licenses to practice the platform. I've already been told, and there's going to be numerous things that we're going to be able to do, and we're not going to need anybody. It's going to be our game. It's going to be we're looking at our world now, and not their world. I don't care what they say. I don't care what the people say when they say, "Oh, we got a phone call, or we got a sauce." I keep thinking Italian sauce, French sauce, some kind of sauce, but they never clarify which sauce it is today.
Well, and besides trading platforms, you're considering having your own Google type platform, your own social networking type platform, and separate that as well.
we're gonna have our own computer set up, our own program set up, so that we have the people that we want to deal with on the computer, where nobody can infiltrate, nobody can get through, and nobody can listen to what we're doing.
Mhm.
That's what we're gonna do. You know, and they can kiss our asses if they want. But then again, I think my ass is too precious for them to kiss, so I don't want to taint it. But we're gonna have our own system, and it's gonna be it should be a magnificent system, and I got the people that can put it together. It'll be done. It'll be done. Like I said, Indonesia is gonna be the jewel of
Yes.
Southeast. Not I said Southeast Asia, but it's gonna be probably the jewel of Asia. And there's not gonna be anybody that's gonna walk into Indonesia and threaten Indonesia any longer about we're gonna come in, we're gonna do this and do that. Like I don't know who said they were gonna do that, but it was just a couple of weeks ago. They're gonna come in and we're gonna take the bunkers and we're gonna do what we want. Like hell you are. Like hell you are. You're gonna find out that your stinky asses are gonna get kicked. We're gonna be kicking your asses. You keep talking. You're living in Indonesia somewhere, so be careful.
Well, and in doing the Amin of Oz, I did the research on Indonesia. You know, historically, I mean, the empire was huge. So I envision when you say that going beyond the jewel of Southeast Asia, it reached into China, into India. It was the original empire was huge. Pundaland. I mean, it gets into the biblical aspects too.
Yeah, and that's all good. You know, the people are the most important part of all that, and the people are good people. You know, they're warm, they're kind. Most of them are loving, and they don't want problems. They don't want it, but they've been fighting. They've been fighting or trying to stay out of fights for so long. You know, and they're tired too.
Yeah.
They're tired too. I mean, Sukarno was a wonderful president. At the time, he could have done a little more, I think, but he had his hands full. He had his hands full. I mean, the guy he was brilliant too.
Well, and
Indonesia is a special place. It's spiritual. It's just you have to really know it to talk about it. You can't just go there for a week or two and say, well, what a beautiful place. You don't get to see anything in a week or two. And you go to Bali. Oh, Bali is beautiful. But you still don't get even to see Bali. You get to see one little place maybe, and you hit the beach and you say, this is beautiful. I'm not leaving. You know? It's really quite the place. It's got everything there. And you can't ask for much more other than straightening it out, cleaning it up, and doing the things that have to be done to make those people better off.
Well, and actually, Neil, what you shared with me, and also Kevin alluded to it too, that you're not only dealing with the financial, you're dealing with the spiritual. And, you know, with your 7 spiritual rituals that you successfully achieved and came out alive, with the Sukarno's transfer of power stick, you're actually in being guided in communication with Sukarno from what you've shared.
Are being divided?
No, guided.
Guided by Sukarno. Yes.
I think he had a lot to do with it, with the rituals, as people saw in a couple of the pictures that were taken during the rituals. You know, like when my finger turned gold. You know,
right.
The funniest thing is it was the middle finger on my right hand, and everybody said, "Let me see your finger," and I go like this. You know, and they just look, what are you doing? And they look at my finger, it was gold. It was colored gold. All the way to I got nervous when it went to my wrist. I said, it's going to go up into my arm. I don't want that.
Now look, I get to take this thing out of my arm. But
Well, and the close-up picture of your Goldfinger, the pixel also showed
in the
Sukarno.
background was Sakano.
Yeah,
But then again, even when they did the seance in Sakano's living room, that voice that came out of Eunice, it scared the hell out of most of them because it was Sakano's voice. You know, and I sat there calm because I knew he was in the room.
right.
And I knew he was watching. Everybody got shook up. Everybody got shook up. I told one person, I said, run, he's after you, run. And he was trying to get away, holding people, thinking he couldn't see anybody. But Chicano was there. Then
Yeah.
again, Chicano was he told me about the guy that was gonna, or the entity that was going to appear beside his bed. Because I stayed in his room. Nobody, I did, but I stayed in his bed, and he told me between 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, something might appear, something might come, and it was going to test my metal, basically, you know. And at 2 to 3 o'clock, something did appear. I mean, I wasn't afraid of anything, but the hairs on my arm were standing up, and I said, "Okay, here we go." I said, "I'm going to get hit again without seeing anything," because you remember I got my back hit in the shower when I got whacked.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a bad one. But I'm looking around. I don't see anything, but my hairs on my arm are answering that question. There's something there, and I finally said, "Get out of my room. This is my room now." And I was told to be very direct with it and very tough with it, as you should be with any entity. And if you do so, they'll leave because they'll recognize it as not being theirs. And I made it very clear to this thing that that has nothing to do with him anymore. He's got to go. And all of a sudden, I made it clear he had to go. And then also, I heard that big bang, and it was the door slamming. But the door couldn't slam because there was a triple lock on it, and nobody could get in.
And you had your suitcases in front of it too.
Yeah, I had my suitcases in front. I had everything in front to keep that thing out. I didn't know what it was. I was saying, I'm going to get you, but you're not going to get me. I had the suitcases piled up against the door. You saw them. And Kevin, I had that place locked down like Fort Knox, and that damn thing was inside all along. And then when it left, it walked through the door and slammed the door even. And everybody heard it, the security in this hotel complex where Sakano and Blita, where he had his things. And I mean, the thing took off. It took some of my clothes too, I think. I lost some clothes in that ordeal. But yeah, I mean, then I opened the door and I looked down the hall. And I saw security coming from both sections, and they wanted to know what happened. Did you hear anything? I said, I didn't hear a thing. I don't know anything. I didn't hear a thing. And I made that pretty damn clear. So they said, geez, maybe we're hearing things. I don't know. But no, there was something there. Then I called Nelu. I said, hurry, run. It's on its way to your house where you're living. And poor Nelu didn't sleep for the night.
Well, and that's the thing. You not only had physical battles, financial battles, but you have encountered spiritual battles and
political.
And political. But yeah, and especially, these last few years, they know you're getting close to getting to Indonesia, opening the bunker. So you've really been hit hard with some pretty dark entities and how you've battled them.
Well, when we were in the mountains, a lot of stuff happened. It's in the release. A lot of things happened that was hard to believe. I mean, first of all, I was 60 some years old climbing a mountain, 67, climbing a mountain. And the mountains, the ledges were like 4 inches. And I'm trying to get across on them, and sometimes they break off and sometimes they don't. I went to grab a one of the what do they call them in the side of the mountain where you can put your hand in and so on. I had to find those things, and I found one. I put my hand in it, and it came off. But I had my hand on the other side, so I held up on the other side, and I found something else, and it got me across. And in the end, I made it. But I didn't make that by myself. There was no way. I don't think there was any way I could make it by myself at that time. I was relaxed. I wasn't afraid of anything in the world. And I went across the mountain, and that's when we were at the bunker. And on the way down, which is worse than on the way up, I just scooted down. No problem. It's crazy, Gene.
Well,
It's
and
crazy.
I think when you return, I think the gin will be waiting for you. The monkeys will be waiting for you. I mean, the story
Well-
about the monkeys is phenomenal.
Well, Tomas can tell you that story because when you talk to him, because Tomas was there too. It doesn't look. There was probably 500 to 1,000 monkeys on that roof down below from my hotel room, looking up toward me. And Joe Hutabarat said, "Neil, they want you. You know, get out of here. They want me. You're absolutely out of your tree." They didn't want me, but when I went out there, I told them, "Hey, quiet down." And they got quiet. I said, "Oh my God." I said, "I'm a monkey's uncle." But the bottom line is they are jinn. Jinn
Yeah.
can turn into anything that they want, monkeys or whatever. And when we opened those boulders, even though we couldn't get into the bunker, the entities could get out. The jinn could get out. We saw 3 get out. I told you. And we had an eclipse of the sun at the same time while we were there, which I had never seen before. What an amazing thing.
Yeah, it wasn't just one eclipse. It was at the beginning in July to the end. So you had 2 solar eclipses and the full blood moon, and that was when you were at the waterfall and saw the rod. They saw the orb, but you saw the rod. So that blood moon was at the time. Yeah.
Well, that was before the mountains.
Yes, but it was during that whole period, because all the way from your rituals to the bunkers. So there was definitely some pretty powerful cosmic
Well,
events.
I was told later that my frequency level was much higher than the others. What they saw, I saw too, but I never saw the orb. But I saw the scepter, the going up and down, coming back into the water, coming back and creating the light that we needed to get out of
The
the
rod, yeah, the light rod, and there is a picture of that was
Yeah,
captured.
well, that they don't. Everybody told me there was no such thing, and they were looking where I was looking, and they didn't see anything. And they kept saying, "Look over here, Neil. This is where it is." And I looked down, and I see a light. I could see the light coming from their part of the water, but I'm looking at this rod that's going up and down into the water and up to the top and back and down. I knew that was creating the light because when it was coming up, you see the light coming out of there. You know,
Yeah.
you could see it. Next day, though, they went to try to get the orb for me and give it to me. They wanted to give me the orb, and they went back to try to get it, and they had it in their hands, and it broke. I would have put that next to my desk. Whenever I thought I was tired or something, I'd rub my hand on it, and I'd have energy,
Yeah.
and it would be my energy. Now that was something crazy to think about. But when you start getting into the spiritual things, nothing really makes sense relative to what you know. And you realize that most of the things you've learned too are bullshit. It doesn't matter history, poli, sci, science, whatever it is you learned in college and with PhDs, throw them away. They don't matter. They don't matter because it's a different thing out there.
Yes.
Heaven and hell, where we going? Before it used to be going to heaven or hell. Now it's what dimension you think you're going to.
Right.
You know, I mean, and that's probably more accurate.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm a believer now, quite a bit, but it was before, like I said, we used to talk about heaven and hell. I think that was created by the Council of Nicaea, or Constantine, the Emperor of Rome, at that point in time with his people, because they really wanted to make a business venture when they did what they did. They didn't want to create a new religion. They just wanted a new business venture that would make them fortunes.
Yeah.
If they wanted to make it straight for us, they'd give us the other books, the book of Philip, the book of Mary Magdalene, the book of Jesus Christ, the book of, you know, Judas, the book of Judas, all kinds of books that were kept out that we never got a chance to look at because it would destroy their theory or their way of looking at it to create the business. And the business was, as you know, playing with little boys and this and that, little girls, and it really wasn't good.
No.
I mean, what did I tell you before? I told you that that Pope Francis wasn't going to last. I told you that he's going to get grabbed, and sure enough, huh?
Yeah.
Sure enough, he had run for his life. The only good Pope we've had in years and years and years is Pope John Paul II.
Well, and it's interesting with your $1 trillion lawsuit how the Vatican, played a role in that, and now, with Trump's election, the interference with the election, illegal. The Vatican, Italy has a role, so it's a whole different approach with what's going on. But you dealt with the economic forum that overseeing the COVID and all that, so you kind of blazed that trail and exposed a lot of them. But now that's resurfacing in this time period. So.
It's not going to stop there unless we stop it. It's not going to stop there. They really have exposed themselves now. They have no other out. They have to continue until they win or lose. They live or die. However you want to look at it. They're already running to make deals to save their asses. And don't think that nothing's happening right now. There's a lot going on. I don't care what you put down on the internet because most of it doesn't make sense anyway.
Right.
I mean, you got people popping up all over the place. Hey, I'm a friend of Donald Trump's. Let me tell you what's going on, and stuff like that. But those people that you're talking about and that are making those comments, they hadn't been around for 12 years. All of a sudden, here we are. They're looking for a payday, and hopefully they're trying to see how they can squeeze one out at the last minute. And they're not stupid people. They're not any smarter than Benjamin. And, but their spins are not as good as Benjamin. I wouldn't buy their book. I'd buy Benjamin's. Benjamin's got a yeah story all the time. A yeah.
Well, and Neil, speaking of book, I'm looking at, we've kind of gone beyond 2 hours, and we'll have to figure out how to save all this and get it posted. And I appreciate the opportunity that you've given me to document and archive, pretty much your legacy from the very beginning, when you did become the power of attorney for the Dragon family. That was back in 2008 to the present. So it's what I've been involved in creating is kind of your Amanah's trilogy. It's starting out with the Amanah of Oz, and this Amanah Odyssey pretty much covers from 2008 to the present. And now that you're going to be departing and arriving in Indonesia, starting Amanah's Opus, your great work, and this is the role where Kevin will play as well. And we do know that there's going to be many books written about your legacy and what all humanitarian projects you will be doing.
As long as we have Kevin, Thomas, and Chris, and others, Russ, and others running around, things will be okay. I mean, you know, I've been doing things myself for so long that handling things because I don't like to get my group in harm's way. I don't like putting them in harm's way, and I'll put the target on my back and take it off theirs. You know, but the other night I was thinking, I told Kevin, you know, I'm thinking about just walking away for a while and maybe forever. I can make money overnight. I don't need to be part of this anymore. It's getting crazy, and nobody's reaching out or reaching out for my help. They're reaching out to find out how much money I can give them when I get this done, and I get tired of it. And I told him I might not do this. And Kevin said, "Hey, wait a minute." He says, "You're the only guy." What did you say, Kevin? You're the only guy on the planet that can do this or something?
Yeah, it was a twofold thing to push back on it. I understood what he was saying completely. I understood exactly. The only people that are willing to help will do so anonymously if they had it in writing that you're repaying them beyond their wildest dreams financially. But we have a responsibility, and I call it a soul contract. And with that soul contract, we have to do what we agreed to do before we were born of this time and of this earth. And I said to Neil, you were appointed before being born, and you've been elected now to do this. Who else is going to do it?
Yes.
Who else is going to do it? Do I want to be Neil?
Let him talk.
Not in this lifetime. I want to be doing what I'm expected to do to hold him up, to keep him energized, to keep him happy and focused on the bigger, grander picture. And, there are a lot of people that say they want this, that, all they want are the bank accounts. They want to be sleeping on huge piles of gold. And that's not what this is about. And the fact that there are so few that have such clarity, it's very challenging. How do you have a conversation with people about what you do? This was a comical conversation Neil and I had late one night. How do you go to a pub and have a beer? People say, "Oh, what do you do?" Oh, well, it's kind of hard to explain. You can't even have a conversation with them. It's very challenging to go alone. It's very tiring. It's exhausting on all levels. Physical, emotionally. The emotional side of it alone is a continuous struggle. So, yeah. My other role that I've inherited is keeping him in good spirits and knowing that he has somebody that cares about him, not just about what our job is or our mission or our goal, but cares about him and cares how he feels. How many times a day do I ask you how you feel, Neil?
How many times have you asked? I feel with my hands. You know that.
But it comes down to how you want to look at the sum total of the effort that you did to move humanity forward, how you moved truth, the truth, not a truth, but the truth into front and center in front of humanity. You and I talked about this briefly before we started the interview. Gene was talking about the amount of unlearning that needs to take place. This is huge. This is a massive topic in and of itself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Disrupting
Neil summed it up perfectly, saying almost everything you think you know, you don't. It's not the truth.
Well, to harken back what you said, Kevin, it's a soul contract. And, Neil shared, when he did meet the Indonesian elders, that they did know 30 years before even Neil knew that he was going to be involved, with the Dragon family.
They've been waiting for me for 30 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
They knew I was
Yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
But the other night, Kevin, the thing that got me was everything pretty much I was aware of, other than when you said, and I knew it, but I didn't want to know it. Kevin said, only you can help the planet. Only you. You're the one. He said, you're the guy. And I said, I wanted to say to myself, I was saying to myself, bullshit, 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 bullshit. And he kept going. And I finally said, maybe he's right. Maybe, And
Cool.
I told you, Gene, that happened,
Yes.
you know?
Well, and with you overseeing the collateral accounts, I know you're going to be working with leaders of all countries. And you are on a whole global scale with the collateral accounts and the humanitarian projects. And
One thing Kevin's right about in this regard is I am going to be dealing with those people. And I'm going to be dealing with them, and they have to come through me. And I'm going to be dealing with large groups of people, big organizations that's going to have to come through me. And depending upon who they are and what they are, they might get something, or they might not. You're not going to come with your hand out, and I'm not going to put something in it and tell you to go away. You're going to have to be real. And if you're not real, you don't come. I'll send you to a carnival so you can play with the clowns. I'll send you to Japan. You can play with Benjamin.
well, and the thing, you are going to enjoy some time in Indonesia on the beach, but you also envision having concerts, because that's one of music is
I'm
one
going
of
to have a lot of things, Gene. I'm going to have a carnival there so that the people can go and take their kids. They can have a good time. I'm going to have all kinds of things going on in Indonesia, in Jakarta, and Java, and Kalimantan, and all the other places are all going to be flying and happening. They're going to be fine. They're going to be like China had all kinds of money at one time to spend. Indonesia will have jobs. Indonesia will have money to spend too. I've got some organizations right now, some corporations, big, huge, that want to come to Indonesia, and they have to run it through me, and they're going to. So I went out, searched them, I knew some of the people in there, and I got to the top, and I'm all set. But getting back to Kevin had this thing going. He had this thing. He had me winding up with this thing. He's laughing right now. I know he is.
Yeah.
He was saying, he was telling me, you're the only one that can do this. It's you. And I kept saying, well, maybe it is. Right now it's 3:00 in the morning, and I'm going to bed. And Kevin kept shooting that at me. But he was right, because I've known that all along, that I'm the guy that's going to make this happen. I've known it from day one. As soon as I got to Indonesia that time, and I thought I got my hands on the Maklamat and stuff like that, and then the Book of Codes, the Black Book, and I got all these things. I understood that, okay, this isn't something that just happened, This is something that was supposed to happen.
yes.
The phrase I used is this is not part of the word coincidence, or what I call the coincidence tree. There's no accident. There's no coincidence. You were elected. You were selected. You were elected. And you have a job to do, sir. Get on it.
And that goes with our next chapter.
This could have all been over with a long time ago, and it was still, I had people all the time calling and looking, some of them looking to give me money, and I don't know them, and I'm not gonna jump in that boat so readily, And I think back, and I say to myself, geez, this all started with a lawsuit, and this lawsuit became Pandora's box to the cabal. Without this, we'd all be dead today, maybe. But then on the other hand, I'm saying, I say, this sweet little old lady named Jean Haynes, right?
Oh, yes.
She she was really she really wanted to get my stuff out there when maybe I wouldn't have done that if Gene hadn't come along. And Gene played a pivotal role too, because I wouldn't have set up my own site. I wouldn't have done this. I wouldn't have done that. And Jean was there with her site, and she was good at what she was doing. It's unfortunate that things got screwed up at the end, but that was her getting involved with the girls group, with Otto, Martindale, and somebody else. And that was wrong because they weren't after me; they were after Drake. And I put my foot in there to stop it. And it was at that point in time that things went sour. You know, right then, because she had told me, she warned me to stay out of it. And if you tell me to do something, I'm probably not going to do it. More than likely, that's how I am. Anyway, that turned into a little monster, and I lost some good people on my team back then when that happened. I mean, I became ferocious, as you know. I mean, I had the RCMP knocking on doors.
Yes.
You know that already. I had the Attorney General in Chicago, getting ready to pick up people. I used my connections to open up. I could have put people in jail at that time, and I didn't. But nevertheless, I find out from Robbie Miller later, and Gene Scoville has been super helping us too along the way. Richard and everybody. We've had some good people. Gene is one of those good people. She carried it for a long time. I wanted to go home. I was going back to what I do, and I wasn't going to do anymore. And she pled with me to stay. And somebody's got to tip their hats to her too, because I wasn't going to listen. There's a lot of mistakes that were made there. They weren't mine. I got caught in the middle of a battle, which I thought I was with the right side, and it escalated. We had a crazy guy and some crazy nut Pollock or something. What was his name?
Steve Pollock in Chicago. Yes.
Where was he from?
Chicago. Critical.
This guy running around with papers in his hands. There's nothing on the papers. Waving them. He's got his hat on, his glasses. He thinks he's from the 1950s. This little character. I look at him and I think this guy's talking about me. I said, Jesus, I better watch where I walk because I might step on him. He's a little pissant, But nevertheless, it's the things we've had to go throughout it all. The gold that we prevented from leaving Asia. How many quadrillion dollars worth of gold and so on.
The Sultan of Sulu, the 25 quadrillion tied with the Vatican.
Yep, and that was one. And Obama with 10,000 metric tons going to be picked up in the Bay of Bangkok, and then the seller of it was going to be Anwar, who happens to be the son of the Sultan of Iran.
Yes.
No, not Sultan of Iran. His father was
Shah.
His father was Shah Pahlavi, and Shah Pahlavi supposedly died of cancer, and while in Mexico trying to come into the United States, but yet I find out he's having coffee in Brussels with who was it? Not Gaddafi, with someone else. I forget who, but these people. Like we think, a great show they're putting on for us. When it's time for them to go, they go and they find a place to go, and they go and they run their life out.
Well, and you were involved, with South Korea trying to move all the metric tons on the ship, and President Park now is arrested. You have the Malaysian former Prime Minister, dead man walking.
Yeah, well, yes, that he's Rizat, I think is that you pronounce his name, Rizat. Him too, and then the emperor's son-in-law or son, no, the emperor's daughter's husband, okay, his son-in-law, he was going to go into Indonesia. He was going to try to rape it if he could. The military in Japan had motivated and mobilized itself for the first time since World War II, and we stopped that. There was the time when we chased George Soros out of Java. You know, I mean, they were shooting at us, and we were shooting at them though.
Oh, with the militia. Yeah, the militia in the jungle when you
Oh
were.
yeah, I had my boys. We were okay, but you know, I got separated from my boys because they took the high road and I took the low road. You know, and it was fun. It was fun. You know, the monkeys coming to the hotel, screwing up the whole hotel. 500 to 1,000 monkeys on rooftops, you know, platforms, and they're looking up at the room, and everybody wondering what's going on. What are the monkeys doing? Hey, they were singing. Hey, hey, we're the monkeys.
Neil, one adventure you had when you were told to get out of Dodge when you were in Indonesia, and you kind of got into a disguise to get on a plane, and you were kind of protected and ended up in a safe place.
I did. I ended up in the same place that I was watching all of those boys chase me up a hill, and I was at the top of the hill watching them on television. But then again, the Dragon family was in the vicinity too, or the Golden Dragons, and they took care of that as well. Everybody kept saying, "Why don't they do something for you?" They've done a lot.
Yes.
They've done a lot. You know, I don't know how to ask, and I won't ask, but they've done a lot. I like sitting in Indonesia and doing what I think I'm supposed to do. You know, in the 5th grade, I was told to do a paper on one of the following countries, and I did Indonesia. Okay, in the 6th grade, I was told to do another piece on a city in one of the countries in, I don't know, in Europe, and I chose Sofia, and here I am near Sofia, and here I am in Indonesia. It's like I knew I was going there.
Yeah. That's what Kevin refers to as the soul contract. You were writing, prophesizing.
I think I got a script I'm following sometimes, you know?
Yes, yes.
And I'm a hell of an actor if that's the case.
Hence the reason why they knew you were coming 30 years before you arrived.
Yeah, they saw the play.
There are no coincidences, Neil.
Huh?
There are no coincidences, sir.
I'm still looking for Juliet. I thought I played that Romeo's role. Where Farrat thou, Julius?
So Neil, I'm just being cognizant of the time. I'm just hoping, because this is going to be a lot of video that hopefully we can transfer to post on Neil Keenan Update. You
can ask a little more.
Yeah, we can try and do that. Kevin, you want to just have anything else to say, and then Neil can kind of have his closing remarks, and we'll try and get this posted as soon as we can.
We are coming, and we will be bringing the might of truth through love. We will be cleaning things up because that is our role. Nothing will escape our attention in this because it is the right thing to do. And that is our gift to humanity. We just did you a favor. We did, as my son would say, we did you a solid.
But I've been doing them a favor for 12 years.
Mm.
Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But it doesn't matter. You can't count it as a favor. You just do it.
You just do it. That's right. What else are we going to do?
You don't think like, oh, the planet owes you. They don't owe you. No. The planet doesn't owe you anything. You took the role on yourself, and
that's it.
You know, and you went out there and you saw what was there, and you knew you were fighting some monsters, and you know, that's the bottom line.
Yep.
I mean, the monsters are there,
And they're very real.
but there's only a few of them because most of them are just full of shit,
Yes.
you know, and that's what I do know. And that's what I've learned over the years. Most of them just full of crap. Bottom line is we're going to be this should be over with shortly, and we should be in the bunkers, and we should be doing this, and we should be doing that, and we're going to make life a lot easier for the people in Eastern Asia, but especially Indonesia, because that's where it all begins for me.
Yes.
It begins with the Dragon family, really, but Eastern Asia is where I flew to get the information I needed for the lawsuit and so on. You know?
Well,
And
and you had some amazing people to mentor you. Just want to recognize Dr. Michael Vandermeer and Count Albert.
oh yeah,
They were instrumental.
oh yeah. They were there, but before that I had many too that took me to new levels, new heights. I mean, I can joke all day long, but behind all that, there's a lot of seriousness too. You know, like someone said to me when they had my arm open and the blood was pouring out and everything. You got the pictures, Gene, and
Yes.
and the blood's pouring out and everything else is pouring out. Looked like my arm was falling apart. And I think this guy's digging in there and everything. Uh, I'm laughing, and he says, "What's the matter?" I said, "You're a damn terrorist." And I used another word, not damn. And he started laughing. What do you mean? He said, "How can you say that?" I said, "Because every time I come in here, you terrorize me." And he's got my arm open, and I said, "Oh, wait a minute, excuse me." I said, "I'll tell you that after you're done."
And you had that the bulge. First, you initially thought it was a cyst, but that's been 10 years. I mean, with those blood clots, that could have gone to your brain, to your heart, and
Well, I told you my head was spinning, my stomach was spinning, but I think it was 5 years ago when they gave me that, when they
well,
stuck it in.
I think there's accumulation of other poison attempts too. But you are, instead of standing, you're sitting.
Yeah, like Billy Joe said, I'm still standing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I am still standing, and I'm getting my energy back, and I feel pretty good, and and I think that it's going to be ending shortly. I just have to get the things that I need in place uh, before I go. I can't go without them in place, and that's where my buddy here comes in as well. He's going to handle that or some of it, and I've got other people as well who'll be trying to handle it, and we'll see where we can go. Like I said, I wish it could have continued as it had from the beginning, because it seemed pretty smooth at one point, and then it hit the bumpy road there for a while, and that wasn't any fun because I had to keep going out and out and out and out, and it was like manufacturing funding, you know. I completed small deals and mid-range deals and so on. I'd take the money and I'd go to Indonesia or Asia and use it and try to put things together, you know.
Yeah.
And it's not something that happens overnight, and it's ready to happen now. But nevertheless, we're almost there, and there's no more playing around.
Well, and people more or less are talking about the timeline. Everyone's talking about 2012, and possibly with this time loop, we're actually in December 21st of 2020. We're entered in that 2012. So I think the timing is perfect. It looks like, Trump is going to successfully drain the swamp, get rid of Obama's shadow government. And
Have a lot of help.
yeah.
He's going
But
to
you've
have.
done it on your own, and you said that Kevin can attest that you haven't asked for you generate the funds. You don't ask for funds. So you've done a lot, Neil.
Well, to this day, I've generated pretty much so. You know, most of the funds, I'd say 95% of the funds have been generated by me, and most of it my own,
Yeah.
of course. You know, I mean, we did have, what was it, what did the guy call himself, anonymous at that time? He told me if I didn't let him into my site, he was going to probably damage the computer somehow. He didn't want to do that. So I told him, go in, and he put that article out there. You saw it, right?
Yes, he verified that you were on the up, you were legit, you were on the up and up.
Yeah, but he also mentioned my things that have been frozen and the things that have been this and that. Well, it turns out that Obama had his hand in them and ended up stealing some of them, and other people stole other things, including the homes. So I'll get them back. You can always get possessions back, Gene. You know, once you learn how to make money, you always know how to make money.
Well, it would be great, what, Obama's house on Martha's Vineyard, he probably hasn't even stayed in that.
You have to wonder how he made the money. You have to wonder how he made the money. You know, it's when you're president and you step down, all of a sudden you buy a huge estate. Everybody should be wondering where you get the money. There should be an investigation, not just on buying the house, but on his cars and his trips and everything else. Who's paying for it?
Yeah.
And you probably find your answers to a lot of your questions if you did that.
Yes.
Anyway, it's going to be interesting this coming year or this next couple of months because Donald Trump's going to be up against the wall here. He's going to win. He is going to be the president. There's no question about it because Obama never had anything. And the pictures of Obama in the White House with the parking lot in the back, that shows that Obama is not in the White House. And
You mean Biden? You mean Biden, not Obama?
Yeah, Biden. And you know, it shows that that's not the White House. And it shows there's a parking lot. And the White House doesn't have a parking lot. And it's just going to continue on. And they're going to continue coming after Trump. We're going to impeach you. We're going to impeach you. And you got to wonder why they're letting that go. This group with Biden is not representative of the people of the United States. They cheated, and everybody knows that. They should be picked up, investigated, picked up, and I'm sure they're telling Trump not to worry about anything. Okay? But the bottom line is he shouldn't have to go through this either. He's been through enough. He's been through enough. I know he's a strong man, and I know he can do things most people dream of. But he doesn't need to go through this anymore. They should arrest everybody, put Trump in place, and forget putting him up for impeachment. Because, you know, all the people that played and tinkered with the election, those are the people that are going to be voting.
Yes.
You know, why would you let it go so far? But they've got secrets and they got their own traps set and everything else. So leave it be.
Well,
believe in Donald. Believe in Donald.
yeah. And I think, Neil, you as Amana and having Kevin and Thomas and others on your team, your dream team, which you'll be bringing in, you can be in stealth mode. You're not having to deal with Congress. You're not having to deal with all these cabal entities that have infiltrated, you know, all these government and throughout countries.
I'm not letting them in the building. They're not coming in the building.
Yeah.
They can meet at McDonald's.
Okay.
You think I'm going to buy them? I'm going to buy them a dinner or make them a dinner? I don't think so.
They can do a Zoom call from a falafel stand on the corner of Lexington and 42nd.
Kevin told me he might make him a pancake.
But you are a good chef, Neil.
I know that.
You're known
By the
for a
way,
good
chef in Eastern Europe means boss.
Yeah.
Not cook. Not cook. They keep
All
trying.
right.
They keep at the beginning. They say, "Hey, chef," and I look at them and I say, "I'm not cooking." But they meant, "Hey, boss." It was all entirely different. But getting back to it, the people have been great from the site. The people have been great throughout, even from Gene's site and the other sites that were involved, Cosmic Voice, all of them. Many of them, most of them were just plain amazing. Amazing. They did everything they could do to help. And God bless them because I'm still alive and we're at the end.
Yeah, and you've got a lot of people that are very loyal to you. I mean, you've had followers for all these years, followers and believers. So, all
So
right.
Kevin, am I still the savior?
You're
Well, I don't see anybody stepping up to become elected, selected first of all, then elected, and going through the process. So I guess the job is still yours. You don't get to leave it.
So I'm the savior by default.
That's it. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
All
good.
right. On that note, thank you, Neil, Amina, Neil Keenan, and Kevin McKinnon. Thanks for joining me, and we'll be posting this. Have Richard posted on Neil Keenan as an update, and then we'll follow with the publication of the Amina's Odyssey. I'm also putting together a PowerPoint that will complement this interview. But thank you, Neil. Thank you for all you've done and what you're going to be doing.
This is what we do every day when we talk anyway.
Yeah. It's nice. I feel it's nice to have Kevin join the team. He's going to be a tremendous asset as well. So you rest well, you look well. Kevin, you've been talking to Neil for about a year. He looks really healthy and ready to take them all on.
He's this last month after dealing with his arm and getting his system cleaned up. He's sharper now than he ever has been.
Well, my circulation was blocked. It was moving slowly. At any given time, I think I could have passed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're not ready to depart yet, sir.
and that's what kind of putting together all the archives of all his videos and everything else. He is back to the old Neil, the piss and vinegar Neil. So it's good to see you.
It's gonna be interesting.
Oh yes.
It's
So
gonna be interesting.
glad to.
It should be interesting, and when I get to Indonesia, there's going to be some different people involved, but you're going to see a lot of the old familiar faces. They're going to be there too. Nelu's been still running around and trying to put things together. Yakawa and others as well. You got Jan. You got so many people that are new people. Jackson that are going to be together, and including heads of state. It's all going to fall into place as soon as I'm recognized there. I've got the agreement, but as soon as I'm recognized, that everybody's going to come to say hello to me, and that'll be nice because I'll get to see the people that I'm going to be dealing with.
Yeah.
You know, I think the Sultan, for example, will make those arrangements so that we can celebrate and I can thank everybody for coming and say hello. And I do want to see who it is. I got Sakano with me. I got a big boy. He'll help me no matter what. And I think the Sultan will as well. So I'm loaded.
And can you just clarify, because initially you're led to believe that you had to be seated, but you're now you don't have to be seated. You've already been.
No, when I signed the contract, when the contract was given to me, I'm Amina.
Yeah.
You know, but they like to they like to reveal or open the doors so everyone can see who you are before they move.
There's legality, and then there's legality, and then there's ceremony.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the legality is done. It's a ceremony. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's you know, like I said, I made it through all that, and I was Goldfinger. You know, the man with the Midas touch. Oh, what a touch. What a touch.
And your flower bath.
The flower bath, and I had the gold aura around me, which you saw that picture, which is very. I never saw the picture. I only saw the picture once, and I said, "There really is a gold aura around me. Where did that come from?" That's crazy. It's like somebody put something in the water, you know. But like I said, it happened. I got the chop on my arm by the jinn. when they cut me.
Oh, yes, you've got the shirt as well? Yeah,
I have the shirt.
yes,
I have it. It's here.
yeah.
You know, I
It'll,
just have to wonder. Here I am talking about the gin. I'm not saying anything. Now they come here, I'll kick them in the ass. They're a bunch of make-believe bullshit, and all this other, all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. And the blood's pouring out of my shoulder.
yeah,
I have to take the shirt off and put it on the chair, and I go into the bathroom, and the magic man put something on my shoulder, and it stopped bleeding pretty quick. Next day, you couldn't even see the marks, but when we came out of the bathroom, about four of us, and back into the living room, a magic man, I believe, is the one who spotted it, and he saw my shirt and went, "Look." I looked, and there were pictures. I believe I thought they were of gin, and Magic Man confirmed they were. Those where the knife or the razor sharp blade got me. Okay, the little slits.
yes,
When you tighten them up a little bit, they were all faces of a gin.
yes. You can see those in your blood stains. You can see the faces. Yes.
Yeah, you can't. My blood. Without my blood, you wouldn't have known. But with my
Right.
blood, because it showed them. Right.
Yeah.
They were on the third face when they stopped. How many faces they could make before I'd be drained of blood? I better
Well,
start drinking vodka again, so I'm not all blood.
well, I know Kevin's more than anxious, and the gin's anxious. The people in Indonesia are anxious, and we just wish you a safe trip to Indonesia once you put the final touches on your plans. And
Well, we're gonna know what's going on.
yeah,
We're gonna know. We're all gonna be over there shortly, trying to work this thing to the bone. We should be okay.
all right.
I
Looking
think
forward to it.
I think we'll be fine. Just have to
Okay.
keep working and pushing.
Okay.
Okay.
All
Anyway,
right.
bye everybody.
Goodbye. Thank you,
Yep.
Kevin. Thank you
Baby,
so
well,
much,
thank you.
Amana, Neil Keenan.
everybody, listen. Don't look under your bed because you never know what you'll find. It might be that boogeyman. Take care. James, it's in the closet, not under the bed for you. Stay away from the closet, James. talk,
Okay.
talk to everybody later.
Thank you,
Be well.
Neil.